My average day starts as soon as my daughter wakes up. So that could be at 5 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock in the morning. Or if we have to get up to go to school or college, then that'll obviously be about 6:30 or 7 to allow time for me to dress her and feed her adequately. Sometimes I have to cook like a full meal for her because medication stops her appetite during the day. So I could be cooking spaghetti carbonara or lasagna at 7 o'clock in the morning just so that she has enough food in her before she leaves for the day. I then zoom her out to college, and then hopefully from then onwards my day's my own. But there are days when she doesn't go to college, and at the moment she's now finished college, so effectively she'll be at home all the time until we arrange the possibility of daycare for her. So that means that every minute of every day I'm at her beck and call. And then that go on throughout the day. I'll cook another big meal for her in the evening when the medication's worn off, bathing, hair washing, settling her into bed, and hopefully, with any luck, getting a night's sleep. So that's my day. Hopefully in that day I also have time to see people, because it's really important for carers to see people. But often my friends have to come to the house to see me because it's so difficult to take Aisling with me everywhere, and she has to come everywhere with me because she's not allowed to be on her own. But what I'd really like to say is that most people probably, when they see a programme about carers, they'll probably think, oh God, that's middle-aged women just moaning on about how hard their lives are when they're sitting at home and they've got a free car on the drive and they get all these allowances. It's not like that at all. For a start off, the car isn't free. That comes out of the mobility element of my daughter's PIP allowance, and the carers allowance that I receive is so small that I have to also try and find time to work in addition to my husband. And also I'm taxed on that carers allowance. So there's nothing free about it. And when you think about it, every penny that I earn does not equal the amount of hours that I put into of hard work and stress that goes into my daughter. And just doing the sums, if you were to look into a private care home, it would probably cost you at least £50,000 to £60,000 a year in Northern Ireland if you had to pay for it. I cost a lot less than the care provided by care homes, and I'm probably a lot better at it and skilled at it simply because I've been doing it for so long. It's part of my life, and I wouldn't wish it any other way, because I wouldn't wish my daughter at all to be in a care home. There are rewards to it. My daughter's very funny. She makes us laugh. But at 2 o'clock in the morning when she's having a meltdown, that's not funny. We'll all become carers to our relatives. I've also nursed my father at the same time as my daughter, which was particularly challenging because he had cancer and dementia. I wasn't allowed to claim any carers allowance for my father because you're not allowed to. So I was basically fulfilling 2 full-time carers roles. And the downside of that was, sadly, my father died, and 6 months after that I became seriously ill with an autoimmune condition that was probably brought on by stress. So yeah, you do become a bit bitter, you do become cynical, you do have to lower your expectations of what you can achieve personally, simply because there's only one person that counts and has to be looked after, and that's my daughter. I think that my life has changed so completely. It's pretty difficult to actually recognise myself from what I was perhaps 30 years when I was in full-time employment. But in some ways, I think I've probably become a bit of a better person. I'm less selfish. I don't just think about myself all the time. I'm not obsessed with my own career. You don't get by on carers allowance. You don't. How could you? It's minimal. I think maximum carers allowance before tax is something like 8,000 a year. If you work, it dwindles it's just nothing. I mean, and because we're both self-employed, There's times when we can afford to live reasonably comfortably. We could afford a holiday some years. Most years, we won't be going on a holiday this year. There's times when, you make sure the children are fed. And I've heard other people say this in other countries, but there's times when we will turn around and have cheese on toast, or I think 2 weeks ago we had jam on toast. And the reason why we had jam on toast for tea was because we were too tired at the end of a day's work, and caring work as well, to be bothered to put food into our mouths. But I also had so little money in my purse that I just couldn't afford to do a big shop that day. So it's a combination of lots of factors. But yeah, of course, if I had a much bigger care package, I would be much happier. I would feel appreciated. I would feel I could actually give my daughter what she really needs. Because although she does get benefits, even with that, it doesn't cover the cost of a fill of diesel in the tank, paying 400 quid for a full of diesel, expensive electricity, the price of food has doubled. It leaves, and I know everybody's struggling in the same way, it affects everybody. But the ability not to be able to work to bring money into the family when you're able to and you want to is very, very frustrating. So you just have to just grin and bear it, sadly.